The Runaway Art program is very unique in the sense that it combines history, social studies, art, writing, a lot of different elements together into one program that aren't necessarily brought together in a single class experience. And the content that we're working with is what particularly sets it apart from other curriculum that students may be used to in school. The content, when you are really delving down into thinking about the life of a slave, thinking about someone who was enslaved and then made a desperate dash for freedom in order to be able to live in some way like perhaps students are living today, free in America. There's a lot of emotion that is tied to that, and I think teachers should be prepared for some emotional reactions from their students. It doesn't always happen, but surprisingly, I encountered as a teaching artist going into classrooms quite a bit more emotion than I expected, and there were parallels drawn that were also not the same parallels that I expected. But I think being open to that, letting that discussion happen, is really important. There were a few times when I let a discussion go on a bit longer than my lesson plan allowed for because I felt it was very important. The ideas that we were talking about were more important than maybe a few extra minutes sketching or working on a piece of art. Students, depending on where they're from, depending on their family's history, can make a lot of connections to the material, certainly just to slavery in general, but also to the idea of maybe a single mom leaving with 2 kids, and things come up about that, divorce, or students from other countries who had to leave their country for a variety of reasons and are now in this country and making connections there. I definitely had a few students who were definitely just really upset about the direct content when we were talking about the realities of slavery, talking about some of the ads bring up the idea of wearing an iron collar around your neck or being beaten or whipped. And that can be really hard and emotional to think about, I think, for students. And even in a classroom setting where there definitely have some protections up, some of those topics definitely brought up emotion. And I think having the art project accompany this subject matter is really useful in the sense that it gives students another outlet. So if the discussion is getting too heavy, it's maybe a good time to turn towards the art and let some of that energy and some of those thoughts be directed onto the paper. And I find a component of both in each lesson is very successful. So there's time to talk at the beginning to discuss some of the ideas, and then for students to reflect quietly as they're creating their art, and then come back together at the end of the class and share some of the thoughts that they thought about, some of the ideas that were inspired by the process.